Hello and welcome to Book of the Mouse Club, episode 119, Monday, October 20th, 2025.
Morning, monsieur.
Where are you off to?
The bookshop. I just finished the most wonderful story about a beanstalk and an ogre and
That's nice. Marie! The baguettes! Hurry up!
I'm sorry, but how can one possibly pay attention to a book with no pictures in it?
My dear child, there are a great many good books in this world without pictures.
I almost bounced clear out of the book. Some bouncing, huh?
Come home or make myself known.
J. Thaddeus Turtle, Esquire. Have you never met him? You will find his story in this delightful little book, The Wind and the Willows.
I've come to return the book I borrowed.
Finished already?
Oh, I couldn't put it down. Have you got anything new?
Welcome back. I'm your host, Courtney, and I am joined, as always, by the Blair to my Lily, my lovely co-host, Emily.
Hello, listeners. In this episode, we are sort of going back to the future. We're revisiting the Kingdom Keeper series, which we've read before, but we are specifically focusing on the final trilogy in the series, which takes place in the future of Disney parks and resorts.
Yes, known as the Kingdom Keeper Inheritance series, we are pleased to once again be joined by author Ridley Pearson. This episode is bittersweet for us. It is our final author interview. We have decided to close this chapter on Book of the Mouse Club podcast and felt it fitting to select a series that has meant so much to us, which also came to a conclusion this year. We couldn't think of a better selection than welcoming back prolific author Ridley Pearson. Ridley is the best-selling author of more than 60 novels, best known to young readers for his work with Disney. His Kingdom Keeper series, published by Disney Books, follows a group of teens battling villains inside the Disney parks and has become a fan favorite middle-grade thriller. He also co-wrote Peter and the Starcatchers with Dave Barry, a prequel to Peter Pan, which was adapted into a Broadway hit, winning 5 Tony Awards. Pearson's storytelling has captivated a generation of young readers with tales of adventure and imagination. As a passionate advocate for literacy, he has also taught writing internationally and performed for over 30 years in the Rock Bottom Remainders, an all-author rock band that raises funds for nonprofit causes. Welcome back, Ridley.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I got a little choked up here. It's your last episode. Heavens.
Yeah, we'll have a little final wrap up, but you have the distinction of being our final author. And like we said, you're just a legend among Disney authors.
Not really, but thank you for having me. I really appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate it because the Kingdom Keeper episodes have been among some of our most listened to, despite us recording them, 6 years ago. They're still some of our most listened to episodes. So we wanted to have you back on the show. We're really thankful that you made the time for us.
That's very kind of you and very kind of your listeners. Thanks a lot.
So this trilogy is called Inheritance. We'd like to take a moment to unpack how does that theme connect throughout the series? The original Kingdom Keepers, the parents, are still characters within this series. What was it like to, come back to the Keepers, but now incorporate their children, inheriting their legacy in tandem?
Well, that's great. In Kingdom Keepers, I was in the present, at least in my present.
Yeah.
In the Return series, which is 3 books, I went to the past. And when Disney came back to me and says, "Is there anything else in your little bag of tricks?" I said, let me think about it. And I recalled being toured around by an Imagineer, and I think it's in Disney World that there was it might have been in Disneyland, but I think it was in Disney World that there was a map of a future Epcot.
Ooh.
If not, maybe it was something that one of the Imagineers sent me. And it was an early plan to have Epcot be a city of about 40,000 people. And at its hub would be what we now know as the Epcot Park. And there would be sort of a hotel there with transportation through it, much like the Contemporary in Disney World. And so I thought, well, if the Imagineers and Disney as a whole have been so kind to me and have helped me so much with these books through now 25 years that I thought, if I could spend a couple books and make Walt's dream, this the idea of Epcot as a city was Walt's dream. I thought if I can be a little part of pretending that that is now there, that's what I should do for the final series. So that's what the Inheritances book's about.
But we wanted to ask you about Walt. While he's not a keeper, he is persistently in all of the books throughout all three stages of the series. For someone who's read the whole series, what do you hope people take away about learning about Walt the person
Ah,
if they spend all this time in your series?
I just think that, Walt came out with a lot of profound expressions. And in this day and age, you could see those being thought up by some marketer or PR person or something. And as you dig into the world of Disney, you realize, no, no, that was the Midwestern guy. He was optimistic, he was hopeful, he wanted people to dream and imagine as he did. Uh, he wanted to share, share, share. He risked his company 3 times, um, sort of mortgaging his soul to keep this thing going, and it did go. So yeah, I think we would. I grew up, of course, with him on the Sunday evening Walt Disney Presents, where he would sit against the edge of his table and talk to you, and he became kind of an uncle to me. Um, and he remains that way. I just think the world of him, and anything we can do to preserve his legacy is great.
We definitely feel that you have in your books in a new way. And, while it's fiction, it does embody a lot of Walt as the man. So thank you for
Well, I
doing
appreciate
that.
that.
Now, as you said, the latest part of this series takes place in the future, and we get to learn about some new Disney attractions. What was it like for you to, quote, armchair Imagineer those attractions and resorts and kind of
Little
brainstorm them on there?
risky.
Yeah, but fun.
Little risky. The Imagineers are very close to all these projects. They sort of tell me stop and go. Um, and there have been many there have been many times they've said stop, don't go there. And I've said, okay. And so in doing that, I thought I might just get a red light on all this stuff. So I was grateful when they let me imagine some attractions in some areas and the expansion into really Walt's vision of I consulted the maps from the drawings of it and even used some of the names from the maps. So it the fun that I've had in this series from Disney After Dark on is following Walt's lead. I've just let my imagination run. And the way I've done that is I've gone into the parks after they've closed, hence Disney After Dark. And I've been so lucky to do this numerous times and experience what this massive park, like in the Magic Kingdom sense, that holds 80,000 people, is like with not anybody in it but me and one other. And it's spooky and it's dark and there's no music and your imagination just pops. Mine certainly does. So the fun thing about writing the series as a whole has been to, as much as I can mine how wild that place is when no one's there and use my imagination in honor of Walt and all the Imagineers. There are 4,000 Imagineers who work so hard to give us this gift of such a cool world. I love this world.
And getting to visit those parks after dark many times, is there like a moment that sticks out to you, like wow, I can't believe I'm doing this memory?
Honestly, Courtney, I think that each time I've gone into the park, and at 4:30 or 5 in the morning, I always go in a backstage entrance, and I'm just awed. Those experiences stay with me so well. I've had weird experiences in almost all the attractions. The Small World dolls did come alive
I
when I
believe
was in
it.
there.
Oh my gosh.
And the person touring me, of course, wouldn't believe it. It wasn't that they all came alive, but I saw 3 of them move, and it kind of scared me to death.
It
And
stuck with
um,
you.
I was in back in the day, the studios were called something else. I rounded a corner one morning at 5:30 in the morning, and there was Maleficent in all her garb, standing taller than I was, saying, "Ridley, what are you doing in my park?"
Oh
And I
my
about
gosh.
lost it. I think I started running and didn't stop till I hit Indiana. So I mean, I've had amazing moments in there. All thanks to the dedicated guides that I have. Sometimes the people who have been running, a cast member who's been running or helping to run an attraction for even 25 years. Sometimes an Imagineer. Once the actual engineer who built a certain attraction was my guide. So you get so much info from them. In terms of just moments, um, I'll have to write about a two-page memoir sometime and just list them all because because I've had a lot of fun in there. Yeah.
I'd read it. Sign me up. I'm pre-ordering right now.
That's what I think is so interesting about this series in general, and we've been reading it throughout our time recording this podcast, is that we've talked to many authors who have worked with the Disney archives, who maybe got to pre-screen a film, but your series is so intricately part of the entire company. You've got Hyperion, the publishing, you have Imagineering taking you into the parks, you have Parks and Resorts and Cruise Line and Disneyland and like all of the international parks. You have so many moving parts of this company that you had to work with to be able to let your imagination do what it did. And I think that's such an interesting project.
So true, Emily. I've never really looked at it that way, but I have had extensive access to both the archives and to Becky and Kevin who run them. And on the ships, I once had one of the execs she was in her all whites, starched with her bands, and she was opening a door for me and she whispered, "Even I've never been in here." And in we went. So I mean,
Wow.
I've had some really incredible access. I hope I've done it justice. I think there are probably authors could have done it better, but I leaned into it as hard as I could, and I, of course, couldn't have done so many of the books. I wrote just one. I wrote The Kingdom Keepers, and that was it. And neither my editor nor I anticipate anything more than that. And the hardcover sold well. And then they released it in paperback, and it sold like gangbusters. This is now 2.5 years after the initial publication. And then they said, "We want more." And that's rough on an author because I had tied a knot, I had the thing tied up in a bow. And I went, "More?" Because now I have to cut the bow and let it go farther. And it takes you some time to get your feet in that situation. But then I just had more and more fun. As you said, I got to go on the ships. I've been on, I think, 11 Disney cruises, and I only paid for one of them. I've been through the Panama Canal with Disney something like 3 times. So, I've had these amazing. I was personally walked through Paris Disney when it was closed. I went on the floor then of Ratatouille before we had it in America and said, "Ooh, I'm writing about this." So I've just had great time, great experiences.
So we want to connect one of our last questions from what's happening in the present to your books that happen in the future. We are getting a Villains Land. And that's a big part of the Inheritance series is the villains that we thought were finally done, the Overtakers and the Return series, make a comeback. Uh, what do you want to see? You've got to Imagineer a Villains Land. What do you hope to see in an upcoming Villains Land that the rest of us have only seen concept art? What do you hope
I
that,
haven't even seen that.
what would you like to see in this Villains Land since you've spent so much time in your imagination in a Villains Land?
I think a villain's land is both a really terrific concept, and I think it's a risky concept. So I know the Imagineers will take care in how they do this, and I won't say dying to because the villains might kill me, but I'm eager to see what they do with it. I have seen some of the characters in the parks represented in film, and I haven't been overjoyed. Um, and so, I think it's a terrific idea. I think risky idea. I wish Kingdom Keepers were going to be some small part of it, even in some janitor's closet at the very end of the thing, but I'm sure they won't be. We've almost had something Disney in various parks 3 other times. And eventually they didn't get greenlit, and so they didn't go. And most of them, as I recall, were temporary. They were going to be like a 2-year thing and then drop out. And that would have been fantastic. I think there's a risk to the psyche of my psyche anyway, of what might happen if we start celebrating the villains, because the Kingdom Keepers have tried to stop that. But look out, the parks may go pretty dark here. We'll see. I'm not sure I'd want to be there on Halloween.
Ooh, that's a good point. I do hope that when you eventually get to visit, Maleficent is there and says, Ridley, what are you doing in my park? She doesn't forget.
Yeah, we'll see. You'll find me in Indiana.
Running from the Magic
In a totally
Kingdom.
different park, going all the way to Animal Kingdom.
All the way. Yeah, maybe over to Africa. Good one, Emily.
Well, as we wrap up here, we usually ask our authors for advice on writing. You've given such wonderful advice. So this time we're going to be a little bit selfish. We're going to ask for advice as we move on to the next chapter. So, of course, the Inheritance Trilogy is the end of the Kingdom Keepers, which you've spent over 20 years immersing yourself in their world. As an author, how do you conclude a project and move forward to other projects?
With a bunch of tears.
Yeah.
Oh, good. We have that to look forward to, Courtney.
I got to the end of Inheritance not expecting any of that. And I became very emotional. I mean, I've lived with these characters and their kids for a couple of decades now, and I was saying goodbye forever. And it was gut-wrenching for me. I just didn't anticipate it, but I put that final period on the final page and went, oh my gosh, I'm never coming back here. And it was a joyous moment because I've loved being in this world, and I couldn't ask for better readers. I get emails, I get inquiries. You guys invite me onto podcasts. It's just been so terrific. But it's a big part of my life, third of my life that I won't soon forget. And I'm carrying on and writing something similar, but not Kingdom Keepers. But yeah, I'll always cherish these years and the people both at Disney Books and at Disney proper, at Disney Film, at Disney TV, all the people who have tried different things with Kingdom Keepers over the year. Even though we didn't get there with some of them, it was so terrific that people gave it a try.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little emotional here now too, but I just want to share that I read The Kingdom Keepers in 2005 as a middle schooler. I was raised by two teachers, so a lot of my books came from the library. And I remember just, being in a certain section. I was like, wow, a Disney book, that original cover, it's sparkly, it caught my attention. And I think these books will live on forever. This is now 20 years later. I am in my 30s, but I am sure there are still middle schoolers picking up those books. They will continue
There seem to be
to live on.
That's
And
been
now
one of the surprises.
you have new books, not in the Kingdom Keepers world, but I'd say, still within the fun of Disney. We'd love you to share that with our listeners. So while we won't be able to cover it on the podcast, we want to give our listeners the chance to read it on their own.
Sure. As you mentioned in your open, I've tried to work hard to keep young people reading, not just off their phone, but in the library and at home with mom and dad, and even by themselves. And I get wonderful emails of photographs from parents of some child under a tree or over in a lawn chair. There's a big party going. They're sitting over there reading the fourth Kingdom Keepers book,
awesome.
And just wonderful things. And my agent, Joanna Volpe, and I talked about trying to engage even younger readers. So I've written most of a series of 6 books called Magical Map. And it's similar to the Kingdom Keepers in that you go into an attraction with younger readers and younger characters. But the same mischief happens for different reasons, which you'll have to read the books. But it's fun because in the Kingdom Keepers, they would go to multiple attractions. And now we have much younger kids and hopefully younger readers who are experiencing just that one attraction. Something has happened in it, something threatens it. And these very young kids, have to figure out how to solve it involving a map that when you touch it, it's hand drawn, found in this old journal. And if you touch your hand on the castle and you recite this certain spell, you're in the castle. And
very cool.
And it's a really fun series. They're 10,000 words, so they're short. They're for second, third, fourth, maybe fifth grade. But I already have gotten emails. The adults are reading them, so that's really fun. And they're highly illustrated. And two have come out, Jungle Cruise and Pirates of the Caribbean. And another one comes out in February, The Haunted Mansion.
I'm so excited. I have a lot of friends now. We're in that age where all of our friends are having kids. We're
Yeah.
seeing growing families, and I know those are going to be books that I'm going to be gifting to nephews, friends' kids, because we're a bunch of Disney adults as well. So we're ready to pass that on to our kids.
Yay, I so appreciate that.
I think it'll be coming to our bookshelves. And this is where we would typically let listeners know what's coming to our book selection on the show. But as we shared at the beginning of the episode, this is our final selection and discussion. We will be releasing just a final episode in November where Emily and I reflect on our journey over the last 8 seasons and bring this chapter to a close. But in the meantime, listeners, you're of course still welcome to keep up with Book of the Mouse Club on Instagram at Book of the Mouse. And we always welcome your comments at bookofthemouseclub@gmail.com. You can keep up with me, Courtney, on Instagram at Great Gutsby.
And you can follow me, Emily, on Instagram at Emily_McD. And really, of course, we want to make sure that we know where can listeners keep up with you, and more importantly, where can we buy your books?
We're on most of the socials as Ridley Pearson, and the book should be in your bookstore. And the great thing is if they don't have it, you can ask them to order it. It's also available online. Both books are. The good news was that the first book, Pirates of the Caribbean, wasn't available for a month because it sold so strongly in its first 2 weeks. I know they're back in print now, but that was exciting for our whole gang. And I have a website, ridleypearson.com, where we drill deeply into all the books.
Wonderful. We will include all of that information in our show notes. And as is the tradition on our show, we always like to wrap things up with a quote. So Emily has selected that for us here today.
I'm sure we might have actually used this quote in a previous episode over the last 8 years, but it seems appropriate for all of us here today as Ridley and we all move on to new projects. So from Walt Disney, quote, "Around here, however, we don't look backwards for very long. We keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things because we're curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths." So Ridley, thank you so much for opening all of these new paths through your books and for joining us today and being a big part of our podcast.
Such a beautiful quote. Thank you. And I'm honored to have been here. Thank you both.
Thank you so much.
The Mouse Club has no affiliation with the Walt Disney Company. The views and opinions expressed by hosts and participants are theirs and theirs alone. They do not represent the organizations or companies they happen to work for.